One of the key features of the Nether update is the Kuudra boss. It's a source of crimson essence, armor pieces, and other drops. Even if you're not rich enough to afford a Hyperion or a Terminator, you can still do a tier 1 boss with a relatively budget setup. But first, let's talk about the basics. You sit on cannons and shoot the Kuudra boss's tentacles to kill it. In the middle of the arena, there's a shop where you can buy upgrades with tokens. These are obtained from killing mobs and hitting the boss. Once all of the tentacles have been killed, the fight is over. Now, let's talk about some strategies. As soon as the boss starts, you'll want to go into the shop and select the sweet spot upgrade. People who are clearing out mobs will have the most tokens, so they'll need to purchase the first upgrades. You should prioritize multi-shot, and then extra damage. However, if you have a hard time killing the boss quickly, go for multi-shot, speed boost, and then extra damage. Have the tanks on your team sit on cannons while the mages clear the mobs in the middle. Be careful that you don't die on the cannons, because your health bar acts kinda sus. When you sit on the cannons, the damage you take doesn't always register, and your health will be gone before you even realize what happened. If you die a lot, make sure you always have 80 tokens, in order to revive yourself immediately. In addition, getting a god potion will also be helpful. The extra speed gained and jump boost effect are useful in evading mobs. As well, the extra mana regen can be helpful for mages. You won't lose it if you die in Kuudra. Your team should ideally consist of 2 mages and 2 tanks, but if you're having trouble killing the mobs, 1 tank and 3 mages will also work. But it'll be a bit slower. Unlike dungeons, there's not really an official class system, which means that you won't get any special perks or large amounts of mana. Running out of mana is a big problem for mages in the Kuudra boss. There will be times when you pretty much just have to run away from the mobs because you don't have enough mana to use your weapon. During the later mana bomb phases, mages will also need a Wither Cloak sword, so they don't die when they go close to the Wither Guards to defuse bombs. If you're playing tank, you can help your mage teammates by keeping a Mana Flux power orb down at all times for mana and health regen. Tanks will sit on cannons while the mages clear out mobs and get upgrades. Onto the setups, finally. The only real viable and budget-friendly mage weapon is the Spirit Scepter. All of the other options are either too expensive for most people to afford or belong in the trash. These usually go for about 17.5 mil, with ultimate wise 5 on them. 3/4 Aurora armor is much cheaper than Storm, and is a good option for people who don't have a floor 7 comp. Depending on your cattle level and budget, go with Wither or Shadow Goggles for the extra mana and ability damage. Use either a sheep pet for mana or a blue whale pet for survivability, depending on your needs. A Shelmet is a great pet item for its versatility, but pet items don't really matter here, so it's all up to personal preference. Some additional wardrobe pieces that you can equip include an implosion belt, a glowstone gauntlet with a mana pool attribute, and some pieces like the molten necklace and molten cloak, which give damage reduction against Kuudra. Your talismans should optimally be using the sighted power obtained from the Ender Monocle, which gives you a lot of extra mana. Tanks can use whatever weapons they have access to, but that doesn't really matter, because you're not going to do damage anyways. A Reaper mask is the helmet of choice, but if you're broke and just need something to double your healing, a zombie heart is a cheaper alternative. If you're on a budget, 2/4 gold or armor and a perfect chestplate will do just fine. But if you can afford 3/4 gold or armor, go for it. A blue whale with whatever pet item you prefer is probably your best option. People hyped up Turtle Pet when it got buffed, but realistically, blue whale is cheap and still probably just as good. A wand of restoration or atonement based on your zombie slayer level will also be needed in addition to a mana flux power orb. Your talisman should have the adept power, which is obtained from the Endstone Shulker power stone. If you're absolutely broke, prepared also works. You can also equip the molten necklace and molten cloak in your extra wardrobe slots, as well as the glowstone gauntlet and a dojo belt. The higher the tier, the better. If you need tips on how to get a higher level dojo belt, go watch our dojo video. All that shameless promotion aside, you might be wondering why we didn't include a Berserker setup. That's because anyone who's in the Burst faction should just get good and play Mage. Just kidding, we're not going to force you to change factions, but Mage is the most viable class for tier 1 Kuudra, and the Burst setups in this price range just don't really compare. Also note that the factions don't give any meaningful perks anyways, so don't worry about needing to change factions to play Mage. Hopefully, you're a bit more prepared to do tier 1 Kuudra on a budget. Have a nice day, and thanks for watching. Also, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video.